And put these bloody things. Not in the cupboard. Nope, not up here. No, not there. No, they're not by my shoes, but I probably should do another shoe rotation video. They're usually on this table. Where are they? Ah, found them. Now, if you own a pair of these, I'm sure you can relate to that. They're just like keys. They seem to grow a pair of legs and go walkabout. And of course, I'm talking about these grubby little things. Or as my wife would put it, they're not grubby, they're well loved. So they're known as toe spreaders or toe spacers, and they've gained quite a rise in popularity in recent years as people are becoming more familiar and more aware of our foot health and how this relates to the rest of our physical body. Basically, the idea behind toe spreaders is that we can wear them to regain the natural width and the natural splaying abilities of our feet that have been affected by modern day footwear. So if you are familiar with this channel, you'll know that I've done videos in the past on the functions of our feet, how this relates to our athletic ability, barefoot shoes, their pros and cons, and even different foot-related exercise tutorials. So if you have the time, please check those out, and I think they will really help you in gaining a wider understanding on the importance of foot health. But for this video, we're going to be talking specifically about toe spreaders and how we can apply them into not just day-to-day life, but also some exercise tutorials as well, and how we can implement this into a training schedule. So like I said, modern day footwear is designed with generally a very narrow toe box, some even having a much more pronounced V taper to them, and basically our feet get squished into these toe boxes. This restricts the anatomy of our feet. It literally narrows the tissue in the foot and also affects the physiology of the toes and the feet, so basically how they can move. So the idea behind toe spreaders, like I said, is to bring back some of those functions. But how would we actually go about using them to get the most out of our time? So before we go into the application of the toe spreaders, we do need to be aware that everyone's a little bit different and they're going to respond a little bit differently to the toe spreaders. So some people are born with more narrow feet, some people with wider feet, some people in their developmental years growing up would have been more barefoot compared to some people, whereas other people would have grown up wearing narrow shoes, so that would have affected the way their feet developed. So there's many different variables that we have to consider. However, most people would benefit from the use of toe spreaders to bring a bit of life and function back to their feet. So there's two different main uses that I'm going to discuss in this video today and walk you through step by step how to apply these different approaches. So the first approach would be passive stretching. So using the toe spreaders more passively in a way to just start getting the feet more familiar with the splaying function and bringing a bit of natural width back to the feet. So this is literally just wearing the toe spreaders. You can even wear them, wrap them around your toes and just sit down and let them do their magic. So passive stretching is basically a exercise approach that you can use in any area of your body. This is basically holding a certain lengthened range of motion in an area of the body for a period of time to adapt the tissue to this more lengthened state. So essentially, wearing the toe spreaders is going to be stretching out the anatomy of the foot, okay? So it's going to be widening it and getting it more familiar with this wider position. Like I mentioned in the intro of this video, the reasons why we want to do this is explained in videos I've made in the past related to foot health, so check those out if you wish to know more about the functions of the feet. So back to using these passively. So like I said, we can either wear them just sitting down, literally watching television or whatever it may be, or the next step would be wearing them and just walking about throughout your house. Okay, so in a closed, safe setting where you're not going to have the potential of rolling your ankle or things like that, for example. Okay, and just getting familiar with wearing them. So I would suggest starting with a time-based protocol. So basically what this means is get your feet familiar with wearing them for a certain period of time and just see how you respond. So you could literally put them on for 5 minutes for the first time you wear these, and then take them off, and then see how you feel the next day. Write down or keep a record of how long you are wearing them on a day-to-day basis, whether you're sitting with them or whether you're walking with them. And this is a great way to just assess how your feet are responding to the toe spreaders. So you could do this for a couple of weeks, maybe up to a month, for example, just wearing them for a specific period of time. And then as you feel your feet adapting, you could prolong the time in which you wear the toe spreaders, and then that's your baseline starting point. Okay, so then step 2 from here is going into a more dynamic fashion. So now we're going to be applying mobility protocols. So mobility is the combination of flexibility and strength. So we're going now from passive stretching to now actively strengthening the feet while using the toe spreaders. So this is going to now be a more dynamic setting and bringing back some of the vital functions of our feet. So essentially, when our feet are at good health, they have the dexterity of hands. They can grip, they can claw, they can move individually, and they have a lot of freedom and function. And this is going to apply to balancing, running, jumping, strength exercises like squats and deadlifts. The list goes on. So right now, I'm going to take you through an example of a variety of different strength exercises that you can perform while wearing the toe spreaders, and this is going to regain, like I said, flexibility and functions of the feet. So I'm going to take you through some step-by-step exercises now, and you can feel free to add these into your training schedule however you see fit. I would use a similar approach to the passive stretching, where I would just choose one of these exercises at a time. Okay, so just perform one of these exercises, see how your feet feel the following day, and then you could start adding on one exercise at a time until you have a full toe spreader foot routine. So the approach you want to do throughout this rebuilding process of the feet is just assessing these basic variables, seeing how your feet respond, and then adding one extra variable as you feel your feet adapting. Okay, so let's go into the different exercise tutorials now. And like I said, just start with the basic ones, work your way through the progressions, add them into a weekly routine, and just keep coming back to this video when you need to add the next level of exercise into your weekly schedule. Alrighty, so let's go through those exercises now. So to set up this exercise, we need an elevated surface, such as this exercise step. Then we need a weight, such as a kettlebell, and we need another surface to sit upon. So we have our heel hanging off the end of the exercise step, we have the weight on our knee for resistance, and we're actively trying to pull our heel down towards the floor. We do this by contracting through the front of our calf muscle and through the front of our ankle, and this is going to stretch the back of our calf muscle. Imagining that we are pulling our knees towards our toes, and if you can, try to get that knee over the toes. Then from here, we drive our toes hard into the step, we elevate our heel up as high as we can, pause for a second at the top of the movement, contracting through your calf muscle, and then actively pull that heel back down towards the floor. If you have a weaker leg, then start with the weaker side, aim for about 10 repetitions on each leg, and gradually increase the weight over time. Now for this exercise, we have a few different levels of difficulty, so I'll take you through all of the progressions now. So for the first variation, we just find a solid object, such as a wall, to lean our body weight into. Now we start in the split stance position, with the foot that we are focusing on in the rear position. Okay, so we place our body weight onto our front stabilizing leg, keeping that foot flat and grounded, and then with this rear leg, we are driving our heel up off the floor in this rolling calf raise motion until we get to the point where just the front of our foot pad and our toes are placed on the floor, and we feel a light stretch through the base of our foot. Then we return back to the starting position. Perform about 10 repetitions on each foot for starters, and just see how your foot adapts. So you're aiming for a nice light stretch through the bottom of the foot and a light contraction through the calf muscle. Now for this next progression, we find ourselves down on the floor in this deep squat position. We have our hands out in front of us to support our body weight, and we're rolling back and forth, stretching the base of the foot by driving our knees down towards the floor, and then returning to that squat position. Now, if you wish to increase the difficulty even further, you can place your hands behind the body, and you are driving your knees down towards the floor the same way you would with the previous progression. However, in this position, you should feel a deeper stretch in the foot, and then from there, as you elevate your knees up towards the ceiling, you perform a deep contraction through the foot by clawing your toes down into the floor, imagining that you are performing a calf raise as you elevate the knees up towards the ceiling, and then return back to that stretch position with the knees down towards the floor. So there are two different progressions here in this floor position. Make sure you never progress too fast. Make sure every movement is always under control, and perform about 10 repetitions in both directions. So 10 with the knees down towards the floor, and then 10 with the knees pointing up towards the ceiling. Okay, so now we find ourselves in the final progression of this exercise. It's the exact same variation as the previous progression, however we now have the feet on an elevated surface, like this exercise step, and we also need something to hold on to stabilize our torso. So in this example, I'm using my power rack, so I can hold on to the frame with each hand to keep the torso nice and stable. And because our feet are elevated and we're still trying to get the knees down towards the floor, you should feel a much deeper stretch in the feet. This is also going to bring mobility through the thighs, through the hips, and also working our abdominal muscles as we stabilize the body. So this is certainly a more advanced progression. Only progress to this variation once you've mastered the previous one. And like all of the exercises in this video, take it nice and slow, feel out your body, make sure it feels comfortable, and just gradually increase the resistance and range of motion over time, aiming for about 10 repetitions once again with this exercise. In this next movement, we're focusing on mobilizing our big toe, which is also going to help the splay of our toes and ultimately our overall stability in our foot. So we need an elevated surface. In this example, I'm using a plyometric box, so we can elevate our big toe against the surface while our other 4 toes are able to be planted on the floor. So we simply lower our other 4 toes down towards the floor as we drive our big toe into the surface, giving it a stretch, and then we actively press our big toe into the surface as we elevate the other 4 toes back up off the floor. We should feel an activation through the muscles on the inside of our foot, and then we return our toes back to the starting position. Once again, aim for about 10 repetitions on each foot with this exercise. So for this exercise, we need a short power band, also known as a booty band. We place this around our ankles, and we stand with a foot stance wide enough so we feel a light pull on the ankles from the band. We use the assistance of the band to pronate at the ankle, so we're rolling our ankle inwards, so we feel pressure on the inside of our foot now. Then from here, we use the assistance of the toe spreaders to splay our toes out. We claw our toes into the floor, and we create an arch through the foot. So we imagine that we are pulling from the center of our foot, raising it up towards the ceiling, while also clawing in with our toes on the outside of our foot, imagining that we are spreading them out as we claw them into the floor. So there are a few different moving parts here. So just be patient in getting used to feeling each different area of the foot. As we create this arch, we're also supinating in the ankle, okay? So you'll see this rolling effect in the video of the ankle going through pronation and supination, rolling inwards and outwards as we flatten the foot and create the arch. Aim for about 10 to 20 repetitions. Just go by feel until you feel a good activation through the foot and also slightly through the ankle and the calf muscles. Now for this final movement, we are integrating all of the different functions and elements of the previous exercises we have worked on into a more dynamic and stabilizing movement. Now before we get into this movement, due to the nature of the equipment that we're using, there is an element of risk with this exercise. So please tread with caution. Make sure that you are feeling completely under control if you attempt to use this exercise as part of your routine, and just start with a variation that is fully under control and under your own capabilities. So you must be careful, as the rope is prone to roll. So we do not want to roll our ankles or fall over and hurt our wrists or something like that, for example. So please be careful if you are attempting this movement. So the idea here is to set up an exercise rope in a fashion that is just completely random and has different shapes and patterns to it. And the idea is just to freestyle and practice your balance in a dynamic fashion. So here you can see I'm just simply walking around the rope, feeling it out, placing different areas of the foot as I step. So sometimes I'll practice gripping with my big toe onto the rope, sometimes I'll use the outside of my foot, and as you get more advanced, you can start to add in different lunges and squat variations, which is a full, complete lower body workout. You'll feel the feet, the ankles, the calves, the thighs, the hips, even up into our trunk, with different stabilizing muscles all becoming integrated and tested in a very unique and dynamic manner. So if you are getting started with this exercise, you can even practice by just simply placing one foot on the rope while having the other foot planted firmly on the floor, and then simply practicing lifting that foot that is planted on the floor up temporarily in mid-air, planting it back down on the floor, and just getting familiar with balancing on one leg on the rope. So like I said, take it nice and slow, really just feel out your body, and do not rush the process if you are practicing this exercise. And the options really are limitless here. There's no repetition count, there's no time limit. Really just go by feel and explore your body's capabilities with this movement. So there you have it. Those are a variety of different foot-related exercises that I use personally in my day-to-day life and weekly training schedule, just to keep the feet healthy, functioning correctly, so I can do all the strength exercises I love, I can run with healthy feet, and I can basically just be more sure-footed, more confident in the abilities that my body possesses just day to day. Just general stuff like having to balance on one leg and put your pants on, or walking up steps. All of these things matter, especially as we get older and we start losing muscle function. It's really vital that we hold on to as much of the strength and mobility and stability and balance as we can. So let's recap the most important takeaway points from this video now, and how to create a weekly schedule for yourself where you can implement these toe spreaders and get the most out of them. So step one, like I said at the start, would be passive stretching. So literally wearing the toe spreaders, write down the amount of time that you can comfortably wear them on a day-to-day basis. Start slowly scaling up that time. So you might start with 5 minutes at a time, and you might have a goal of working up to, let's say, 30 minutes a day. Okay, once you feel your feet are becoming familiar with the toe spreaders and they've gained more familiarity with being in this widened splayed position, then you can start adding in the active mobility, and those are the exercise tutorials that I just took you through. So like I said, start with just one of those exercises. So start with the easiest exercise that you find suits your current foot health. Okay, start with that exercise, go through the rep ranges that I suggest, then just simply see how your feet respond. If you ever need a rest day, let's call it, where you just do not wear the toe spreaders, then have a rest. So you could even start with using these every other day. So you may do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, for example, and then have the weekend off as well. And then as your body adapts to the exercises, go from one exercise to 2 exercises and just keep adding them on as your foot adjusts. Okay, so it's a really good practice to write down how your feet are adapting. So whether you're passively using the toe spreaders and writing down the amount of time you're wearing them, you may want to write down some symptoms or some how the feet are feeling afterwards. And then also, once you get to the next stage where you're adding in the mobility exercises, write down how many reps you're comfortably performing, write down how many sets you are performing, so you could start doing multiple sets of these exercises. So for example, if you start with one exercise for 10 reps, you might build up to doing 3 sets of 10 reps, and then slowly tacking on those exercises until you can perform that entire foot routine, all of the different exercises. And by the time you get to that level, then you should have very highly functioning, strong, mobile feet. But always listen to your body, give yourself rest. If the muscles are feeling sore and tired, give them a rest day. That is extremely important. You do not want to overload the feet too much too soon. So be patient. This is a slow, steady rebuilding process. This can literally take months or even years. That's just simply the reality of it. And I know a lot of the time we are looking for quick fixes and overnight results, but that's simply not the reality of this process. We have to be patient, we have to be smart, and we have to just simply look at the variables, look at how our body's responding, and simply go from there. So I really hope this video has helped give you some really direct, step-by-step ways to rebuild the health of your feet. Like I said, I've made previous videos in the past relating to foot health, how important it truly is, how this is going to help your overall foundation, how this is going to make you stronger in the gym, a faster runner, a more explosive athlete overall. It really is truly a rewarding process when we can look at our body and its potential that it has, and really the sky's the limit when we start breaking down step by step how to improve our overall health. So thanks so much for watching this. If you haven't checked out my social medias yet, please go over there. My Instagram is the same as my YouTube, Jasper Vowden. I have a website, Humanized Training, with free and also paid subscriptions with step-by-step structured tutorials and exercise programs that relate to running and hybrid training and obstacle racing, nutrition, mindset, habit building, a whole bunch of cool, fun stuff. So thanks so much for watching, supporting this channel. I have lots more on its way, lots more in the works. So yeah, thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.